from the city, just like an hour south from you guys.
Okay. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to episode number 2 of the Backcountry ADV Moto podcast. And if you clicked on the thumbnail, which is how you got here, you saw that we have Good Life ADV Chad Donnie as a special guest. And he's one of my good friends. Been chatting for a while. Actually, just like in the last episode, we talked about how you meet people on the internet and you kind of think that you never know where it's going to go, basically. And since then, Chad's been a really good friend of mine. We've done some trips together, done some rides together, and we talk just about every day. So welcome on, Chad. How are you, buddy?
Hey guys, doing really good now.
Good.
Every day's looking up.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Chad's kind of gimping around a little bit. Recently broke his tibia and fibia in an accident, which we'll get to later. But yeah. So how have things been? How's recovery? I think you're doing a lot better now than you were a few weeks ago, right?
Oh man, yeah. So I'm almost 2 months in right now. I think just past 6 weeks on my big surgery, I ended up I broke my tibia, fibia, my complete midfoot, navicular, and then all the other surrounding bones. I crushed everything and pushed it more towards the inside of my foot, so they had to pull it all back to the outside of my foot.
Jeez,
and then of course brutal. I have the accompanying hardware that pulls everything together. So not to mention I ended up with a infection 2 weeks after the big surgery. So kind of set me behind, and it's been rough.
Yeah, but you're kind of getting around a little bit though now, right? You're able to drive now. Luckily it's your left foot instead of your right. So you're able to drive a little bit. And hey, do you have that sweet knee hardware on right now?
Knee hardware?
The one that you get to wear on your knees so you can walk around like RoboCop?
This guy right here?
Yeah, that thing is cool, man.
Yeah, no, it's better than crutches. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but man, it's a lifesaver.
Yeah, I mean, I guess getting around the house probably makes it way easier than crutches. Crutches kind of suck after a while, especially if you're on them for 6-8 weeks at a time. But well, cool, man. Yeah. What else is new? I mean, I know you've kind of been laid up on the couch. Are you catching any Dakar race lately?
Yeah, Dakar's been amazing. Really been rooting for Mason Klein.
Yeah,
really bummed to see he's having some bike issues. I don't know.
I mean, it's R&D, man. I think that's for a bike that's brand new. There's gonna be things that you won't catch. I mean, I know there's gonna be a lot of haters on. Well, it's a Chinese-made bike. Of course, it's not.
Of course,
doing well, but last year it did fine. It finished. So
I mean, truthfully, I don't really care about the bike. I care about the person that's riding it.
That's right.
I get it. You can say what you want about the Coeur brand. There's a lot of believers and there's a lot of non-believers. But I don't know. I've ridden a Coeur. I rode the 450. You got to ride it really hard to make it work well. And it was fun when I rode it. So that's what I kind of look at.
Yeah. I mean, I think like the Coeur, just like really any bike, there's people that are going to talk bad about any brand, right? I mean, you have people who bleed orange and people who can't stand to drink the orange Kool-Aid when it comes to KTM. So there's no matter what brand it is, there's going to be people. I mean, for me, BMW, people automatically assume that now that I'm on a BMW that I'm just touring and going to Starbucks, but it is what it is. So
I mean, we made our Starbucks stops. So the other guy I was really rooting for too was Matthias Wagner. I mean, gosh, having a traumatic injury, breaking his fib right before Dakar, I could totally relate. And what a blow. In my eyes, he could have won the thing this year.
You spend all that time training and preparing, and then you just have a freak accident that makes it,
total upset, and like any moto accident, you don't see it coming. Things just happen fast.
If you guys are following the Dakar or watching Dakar race at all, in the comments down below, let us know who you're pulling for, because I mean everybody's got their team, right? So yeah, let us know. But so let's get into it, man. Let's talk about Good Life ADV. That's your Instagram handle. You're kind of getting into some YouTube as well. You've been trying to post some videos there. Like anybody knows who is starting off a YouTube channel, it is a slow crawl, but your Instagram, man, it's blown up in the last 8 months or so.
Oh yeah, rough 6 to 8 months. Ever
Yeah.
since June, July, had those rallies, and I just started consistently posting back to back, and just anyone who follows me knows the shenanigans I do on my bike and how nervous I make my mom and my wife. So, I don't know, I guess it makes for good entertaining content for some guys.
Yeah, if you guys don't follow him, definitely give him a follow. Good Life ADV. It's down here in the right below his name. But he some people say that I ride a big bike like a maniac, but dude, you ride a big bike like a maniac. Like, I mean, for the most part, like it's controlled for the 99% of the time. But
Yeah, it's that 1% that'll get you.
it's that 1% that'll get you.
I mean,
But
I'm more comfortable on a big bike than I am, truthfully, on a small bike. I mean, I got my 500 or 501 behind me, and I don't know. I just don't feel as at home on the skinny bike as I do on the big bike. For some reason, I just know how to set it up and come into corners and hit things with it much easier.
Yeah. I mean, he's a wheelie machine for sure. I mean, on any bike, really, to be honest, for everything that I've seen. But
wheelies are easy. I think my wheelie days are going to slow down now.
Yeah,
After this, I don't know. I can sit here and tell you plain as day that I'm not going to wheelie anymore. But I'm like a puppy when I get out there, man. I just get the zoomies, and all of a sudden I'm doing it. So I need you with me to slow me down. Hey, don't do that.
I can be your wingman that slows you down, because we don't want to go through this again. So let's I guess let's just kind of get into that a little bit. So you and I have ridden in the past. We've done a couple of shorter weekend trips and stuff like that, but we had planned to do the Arizona BDR.
Oh, we actually planned on first we were going to do California, and then
Correct.
turn to Nevada, and then we ended up bringing on a few more guys, and it's like, well, let's do Arizona.
Yeah, we were trying to get a good ride in, because, well, one, I needed some content, and winter's coming, right? So we had decided that we're just going to do the California BDR, and then we both kind of forgot that Southern California just got hammered with all the floods.
That's right.
And Titus Canyon and all of those awesome spaces were kind of shut down, and they're shut down right now kind of indefinitely. It sounds like maybe in like 3 to 5 years they'll be open. So that's kind of a bummer for the Southern California BDR, because
in the time we spent on the BDR, I feel like we rode the highlights too.
Yeah, because a year before, last January, we did 29 Palms, and we rode there, and we rode all the Joshua Tree area, and we just like that area was epic, and that made us want to do some more of it. And I've ridden Titus before in some of those areas, but I kind of wanted to string them all together, and just to do the full ride. So anyway, long story short is that didn't work out. We decided to maybe do the Nevada, and then a couple other guys that we had been talking to said, hey, let's just do Arizona. So Arizona seemed like a really good time to do it. We knew that the northern section was going to be a little bit chilly in September, but the cold weather hadn't really hit yet. So, and I don't even know if the cold weather still right now has even hit, because maybe this week, because they've had a big storm. But this whole super El Nino thing has been weird. But anyway,
it's a blessing in some areas, and it's a curse in others. So
yeah, I mean, even for me, we've gotten some dustings, like 1 inch of snow, and then it goes away, and it's just been kind of in the high 30s, which normally by now we've had. I mean, shoot, last year we had 2 feet of snow.
Right.
But so we start the trip off. You and I, we load up, we drive down through Arizona, to Arizona, through Nevada, which, hey, let's take 395. And is that what it was?
The longest road ever. I think it was 395 down through Nevada. Never do that again.
Yeah. So we get to we decide to stay in St. George. I went from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. You went from Eugene. We met in Boise, and then we drove from Boise all the way to St. George, Utah, and we stayed at the Moto Mansion from Tyler Everride. If you guys are familiar with him, yeah, that setup is really cool. I mean, if you ever want to do a spring or winter ride down in St. George, Utah, definitely check out Tyler. I mean, even if he has tours, and you can book one of his tours, but even if you're just going to stay, if you're looking for a place to stay, I mean, out of his back door, he's got, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of BLM acres
Yeah.
to
And then you got a
go and
super
ride.
cozy place to hang out when you're done.
Yeah, it's
Hot
like a
tub, beds,
three bedroom.
everything.
Yeah. It's legit. Full kitchen, all
Yeah.
that. There's like 2 grocery stores within like 3 blocks. I mean, everything is right there.
Just
So
and everything there is so nice. Like I want to live there so bad now.
it's clean. It's I
Yeah.
know. I bet that house across the street sold.
It did. I talked to Tyler.
Oh no.
It would have been epic.
But
Like, could you imagine if Tyler and I bought had a house from across from each other?
it
Just
would
be
be
Cove Corner.
so our other buddies, Justin, Brian, who was on the podcast last time, and then Josh Jones. You guys know Josh. I've done some stuff with him. They were down in Nevada, and they met us in St. George that very next day. So I think this is, if I could do it again, I think this might be where we start making some changes. One, I think the push from the drive all day, that 14, 16-hour drive to get there, to then finish packing, loading the bikes, all that kind of stuff. I think, not that it wasn't doable because we did it, right? But I think that was kind of the point where, okay, you got to get into a mental mindset of, okay, this is what we're getting ready to do. We're going from a 4-wheel vehicle to a 2-wheel vehicle. And then not only are you doing that, but you're also like the packing that's involved and all the things, right? So
It's hard though. You go from a long road trip that day, immediately jumping into bikes the next day. I mean, we got almost to St. George and I was getting sick. I remember I just started feeling that head cold come on. And
there were a lot of little things that I think led
Yeah.
up to where we ended up. So I think we should have either taken a half a day the next morning to kind of get ready to go. And we granted, we didn't meet those guys until noon, right? But we went to bed at like 2 a.m, and then we woke up at like 6:30 or 7, whatever it was, to kind of get everything ready. And we probably should have had some better. We probably should have had some better rest before jumping into a BDR, which is going to be a 6-day trip for us.
Yeah.
So that was probably mistake number one. Plus, like you said, you were starting to get a cold, and you just were kind of struggling a little bit mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So we meet those guys, and then we start heading east towards the start of the BDR from St. George. Fun first start. We kind of took a little bit of a detour. Instead of slabbing the pavement all the way to the start, we decided to take a road that took us through some semi-technical, probably more technical than what anything would have been on the first couple sections. I feel like it could have possibly been what we would consider an expert section on the BDR in some of those places, those hill climbs and those switchbacks and stuff, right? So, but it was a great time. We had a good time doing that. So then we actually hit the BDR finally. And then, I mean, what was it? A half a mile in,
Josh
we hit Josh biffs it in that silt bed right past the
just over the cattle guard. Yeah, man, that was rough. He hit that silt and just tucked the front end, and all of a sudden you just hear in the helmet comms, you hear his helmet go clink, like uh-oh, and then you hear Josh went down.
Yeah, and you look in the mirror, and it's just a cloud of silt. And that being the lead person, the silt's no big deal, but then if you're number 2 man, oh dude, it was so like talcum powder. But so Josh picks up the bike, brushes everything off, and he's good, just a little shaken up. And then we take off again. It was starting to get late at this time. Daylight savings time had just kind of kicked in, and it was getting dark around 5:45. So this was about 4 o'clock. So we decided to keep pushing on, and man, as the sun started to get low, the sunset got amazing. We were on the Navajo reservation. So we're on this awesome 2-track, and it's just flowing. And I look over, and we're watching these wild horses, and then I biff it, dude. Like that was, like I said,
we were side by side. That was a rough one, man.
My tire, you said it was like shoulder height. Like
we were side by side, and you went over, and then your bike did a rotation while you were on your front tire. And I remember I did this, trying to get away from your tire, like, whoa, because you just see this big old BMW tire coming around you.
And what happened was, like, there was a rock like this, and my tire caught the edge, and it flipped it. And that edge of that rock got underneath my fork, and it just lifted and then cartwheeled my bike. it happened so fast. Like I broke the mirror, I broke the windshield, I broke my auxiliary light. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was only
I
doing
was
25 miles an hour at most.
not even that. Like I
Yeah,
was just so
not even
taken
that.
back because coming down, I think we talked about, I was like, I don't care what happens as long as we see stallions. Like that's all I want. I just want to see some stallions. And then I look over to the left and there's these stallions up on this ridge. And it's like, it almost looked like metal artwork up on the hillside.
Oh,
And then they
yeah, like
started
they weren't
moving, like,
moving.
oh, stallions. And then
Yeah,
all of a
yeah.
sudden it's back tire flying at me.
But I mean,
It
I was
was
okay. Just had a pretty good bruise on
it
my
was deep too. It was like a
thigh.
bone bruise.
Yeah, it lasted for like 4 weeks, man. Just brutal.
Yeah.
But anyway, 20 minutes later, maybe the sun is just epic. And we have
Yeah.
Justin with us, who is a professional videographer. And I don't know exactly who said what, but we're like, hey, Chad, it would be pretty sweet if we got a sweet wheelie photo or video as the sun's going down with this like silhouette. So
Okay.
Chad being Chad, he's like, too easy. I got this.
Yeah, let's do it.
And Chad's ripping and Justin's getting the footage and it's going good. And Chad comes down and there was a couple little silt spots, but nothing during that
I
time,
just
nothing.
I didn't like it. It was sketchy. And I remember it was like we had the conversation. I was like, all right, well, let's not push it too hard. Let's not do anything crazy. And then I found like, well, let's find the straight spot where I can do the wheelie and it's not so sketchy because it was kind of had a couple turns in it. So I didn't want to do it in those turns. So I found the long straight. Justin came up next to me. I pulled it. It was like a third gear, 45-mile-an-hour wheelie, just kind of held it. And I didn't like it because I never got to balance point. I had a hard time trying to find balance point because of all the luggage. I had like 70 pounds of luggage on for this trip. It just everything added up. So I set it down. Somewhere in there, Justin says, I got the shot. I never heard that. Like, never heard it. So, of course, I clicked third again, pull it back up. I clicked fourth as soon as I was in it. And I tried to find the balance point. I found it. Didn't know Justin wasn't behind me anymore.
Yeah,
And then I
Justin
hit the
wasn't even
silt
filming at that
section.
point.
Yeah, he was gone. I didn't even know he
Yeah.
wasn't behind me. So I
Well,
hit the silt.
he was behind you probably like, I don't know, 75 to 100 yards. I mean, he was there.
So he
Yeah,
was in the dust.
but he just was. Yeah, he just wasn't filming.
Yeah. I mean, I hit that first patch of silt. And from what I remember, I don't know if you recall, but I hit that silt and it kind of did this number where it went into it. And then I felt the front end kind of bog down and I lost the balance. And I felt the back end kind of like walking around just a little bit. So I gave a little more throttle to correct it and pull it back up to balance point. And it was holding. And then I remember I hit like this little island of tractable dirt and it just went whoop, right out from under me. And there was nothing. I didn't even see it coming. Generally, when you loop out or something, you kind of feel like you kind of go over. Like it just went and just pitched me out backwards. And then all of a sudden,
right?
I'm
Yeah.
in another patch of silt and I'm just tumbling. And I remember through the tumble, it was just insane.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective, I see your front tire, I see you, and then I mean, dude, it was like a roadside bomb had gone off, dude. Like it happened so fast and the silt was so thick. It was just this massive cloud. And instantly I'm like, dude, Chad, are you okay? Because I mean, I'm a quarter mile back, maybe, maybe not even that, an eighth of a mile back. I'm like, dude, Chad, are you okay? Chad, I'm trying to get you in the headset, because I'm thinking
Well,
like,
I heard you. I could hear you, but you
yeah,
couldn't hear me. So,
yeah. And come to find out, like your headset had just like fallen apart basically because it was such a violent
So I mean, here's
crash.
what's left of. I took the actual headset off, but I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't even washed the helmet yet. This is exactly how it came out. I got a nice crack here, and then just the scuffs up the back of it. So
yeah, and that carbon fiber, brand new, first time wearing a helmet.
Yeah, brand new XT9000 Scorpion helmet.
Yeah. So Justin anchors the brakes. I know we'll have to get you a new helmet. Hopefully Scorpion.
I've been talking to Scorpion. I think they're going to take care of me.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Justin's right behind you, and I'm thinking like, oh gosh, don't run him over, and because I'm worried that because we can't see you, I can't hear you. Justin comes to a stop, and I get my bike parked, and the cloud of dust is still so thick that we can't even really see the bike or you yet. And I just like dump my bike. I run over and I see you taking your helmet off, and I'm like, oh, thank God he's alive. Because like, dude, there was a minute there where I thought, this is bad. This is real bad.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you were doing, how fast do you think you were going?
When I clicked fourth and I was holding it, I guesstimate just based on other things that I've done, I was somewhere between 60 and 70.
That's so fast, dude.
Seems normal to
So
me.
yeah, I know. So I see you taking your helmet off, and at least at that point, I'm like, okay, he's conscious, he's breathing. Let's see how tore up he is. And the first thing I noticed is that you're kind of like this.
Yeah.
Because you had that Alpine Star air vest on, which
Yes. The Tech Air
dude,
5.
to be completely honest, I always thought those things were like kind of dumb, right? I'm just like, how in the world?
I never even
But
did it. I never did any research in it because I saw the initial price point. I went, nope,
well,
not
that's
spending
my
that.
thing, and that's my thing, right? They're like $1,000. Well,
$850.
yeah,
It's
and
expensive.
after seeing how your upper body from the waist up was completely unscathed, other
Yeah.
than the bruise on your arm.
That was nothing.
I'm a
that was there
believer,
till the
dude.
next day. Yeah.
I'm 100% believer
Me
that
too.
that saved a lot of trauma onto your torso and even your
It
neck.
is.
I mean, because it comes up around and it stabilizes your head, your helmet, and all that stuff.
Exactly. So I was having an issue getting my helmet off initially. I couldn't figure out. So I was
So couldn't get your hand in there to
well, I
yeah.
just came out of this like dust ball and I'm trying to like figure out what's going on. And I was instantly just so mad. Like I came out of the roll and I'm sitting there on my butt and I'm going just screaming in my helmet because I'm so mad. And I'm like trying to like get into my helmet. Like, what is going on? And I just, oh, I got the thing. I just had to push it down and then get my hand in there and release my helmet. At that point, I was getting my helmet off and I heard you guys coming in and all I hear is this clunk, 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 and it was all the gas coming out of my fuel tank. Come to find out, the wreck was so bad that it completely pulled my skid plate forward and my fuel level sensor was pulled halfway out of the tank. Just stripped it out and destroyed the bottom of the tank. So I think it's a typical KTM issue. But yeah, it was gnarly there for a second.
Had a wardrobe change for a second because I was getting a little chilly in my area here. So
It's cold in my garage.
it's kind of chilly in here too. So I'm starting to kind of get a weird, uncomfortable shiver. But anyway, yeah, dude, that and that's the thing too. I run up there and you're just like covered in gas. So we're like, okay, let's get the bike away because we knew we couldn't move you.
Nope.
So got the
Luckily,
bike
I
away.
landed in such a position where I was comfortable as I was sitting.
Yeah. Like
It
how
was just
how lucky, I guess, of all the
at
things.
least my leg wasn't
was
like going out like that, you know. It was still in the boot. There was no compound. I just
barely
sat there.
almost
I could
a
feel it.
compound. Yeah,
I
you
could
could
feel
almost
it.
scratch this. You could almost scratch the skin and break
Yeah.
the skin on that. So yeah, man. Chad calmly, after the dust clears, goes, "Oh man, I broke my leg, guys." And we're like, "What?" Because we were concerned about like everything else, and it took you a second to kind of realize that, oh, my legs broke.
Oh
And
yeah.
I think everybody kind of thought you were full of shit because how calm you were. You're like just, oh man, I broke my leg, and we're like, oh, okay, you know.
Well, I
But
did
like,
like the
yeah,
self check, right? So like whenever you have a wreck, you lay there for a second and you do like the self, diagnostic check. Like, okay, they all work. These are working. That's all working. I went to go do this with my foot inside my boot and I could feel things moving inside my boot, but my foot
without your
wasn't going
foot
anywhere.
moving, yeah,
And I remember when I broke my femur back a long time ago, same thing. And yeah, during the tumble, I felt my leg break. And it was a really weird because it was like a matter of fact thing. It wasn't like, oh my God. It was like, oh, legs broke. And that was it.
mm,
And I didn't know how bad everything was, but I knew for sure I'd already broken my leg. So,
crazy.
yeah.
So that at this point's where you're not bleeding, you're not nothing.
Nope.
It's not. There's no major trauma, but now we have to make a decision because we have to get you out into a hospital and then also figure out how to get your bike tumbled. Other than besides the fuel issue, your bike tumbled so hard that it actually snapped the handlebar.
Yeah.
And then what else did it do? I mean, what other, now that you've had a chance for the insurance and stuff, is there any other major damage besides that?
Yeah. So broke the tower, broke the fuel tank, skid plate, radiator, rear subframe. The wiring harness, obviously, that goes to the tower is frayed and broken. And then just other cosmetics. Just
Yeah.
mirrors are gone, levers are broken. My handguards, my molecule handguards held up great. But yeah, I busted my flex bars in half. Sorry, Flex,
Yeah.
but
They
they're broken.
just like snapped. Yeah. I mean, dude,
Yep.
and I don't know what the thickness is on those, but they're probably,
They're thick. But yeah, snapped it right off. So luckily I
So
still have
not-
good tread on the bike.
so, yeah, right. Tires are
were
brand
still
new.
good.
So other than that, I mean, we realized, okay, bike's not rideable. We're probably not going to be able to two up you out of here because the
No.
terrain that we were in, it wasn't horrible, but I mean, you weren't in pain really initially, but I knew just from training and experience that you're going to be in pain soon. And
Yeah.
you started to be in pain, not real quick, but it kind of started to set in, especially once medics and everything arrived. So let's talk about that. So everybody kind of got assigned a job. Justin and Josh and Brian, or Justin and Brian mainly, were kind of in charge of making sure that you were comfortable and kind of start treating you for shock. So
Good job,
if you're
guys,
not
'cause
familiar
I was
with,
comfortable.
yeah, right. So we were able to get some of your gear and kind of prop your leg up and stabilize it that way, and also kind of prop you up to where you had something to kind of lean on. But if you're not familiar with what to do when you have a casualty like this, and the first thing you want to do is just make sure, one, check for bleeding, make sure they're breathing, all these things, right? And then once you realize that it's not a catastrophic emergency, like you have to get somebody out of there right away, then making sure they're comfortable and kind of start to treat, because shock is going to set in once your adrenaline and all that stuff starts to kind of fade off. So
That was the weird thing. I've been in shock before, but I never felt like I was in shock. Like I know what it feels like, but everything just felt so clear during the process.
yeah,
I just,
dude, you were
pulled out
super
my phone.
calm.
I just started making phone calls, just letting my people know, hey, I've been in an accident. I'm going to live, but I'm being life flighted out of here. And I only broke my leg. Everything else is okay. But yeah, it was very calm. Like I never felt like, when you watch like a skateboard video and the guy breaks his leg and he's like, oh my God, freaking out.
Yeah.
It was nothing like that. If anything, it
It
just felt
was
like a growing pain.
it was almost comical how calm you were, and we made these comments several times while we're just hanging out there waiting. But let's chat a little bit about
Sure.
the process. So I kind of take the role of getting help there. So luckily we had cell service, which honestly I didn't expect to have, because we had kind of been in and out of cell service the entire time. So luckily we had cell service, and the first thing we do is I call 911, and it transfers me to Flagstaff, which is like 3 hours away. And they say, oh, you're on the Navajo reservation. We don't cover that. Let me transfer you to the reservation. So if you live on the Navajo reservation, I feel sorry for you, because the emergency response team that was there was subpar. So
Yeah.
they transfer me to their 911 there on the reservation. And it's a lady talking to me where I think her kids were in the background. Maybe it's at her house. I don't know. I just hear screaming kids in the background, or playing kids in the background, like doing like kids do. And she's asking me to repeat coordinates and what is wrong and all these things. Luckily, again, it's not life threatening at this point, but we need to get you some help. And she's not helping. So I look over to you and I say, hey, dude, I know you have an inReach. Do you have the coverage for life flight? Because for those of you who don't know, just because you have an inReach, yes, you can get the cavalry to come, but you may have to pay for it out of pocket if you push that button. And
Most
for
definitely will pay
$29,
for it out of pocket.
yeah, for $29.99, you can buy a separate coverage through Garmin
Okay.
that covers up to like what, $500,000
There's
or
$100,000 in
okay,
in recovery efforts.
efforts, right? So
And there's two different plans, I believe. There's one for like basic stuff like we do, and then there's another plan for guys that are like doing cave spelunking in Antarctica or something.
yeah.
So
It's absolutely worth it to buy that plan, and it's a one time for per year. Like mine renews in March, so
yeah,
um, absolutely do that if you have an inReach. And if you don't have an inReach, I really suggest getting one, because even if you're just using it to text loved ones and letting them know you're okay, that's a game changer. But in this situation, it made all the difference. I mean,
100%.
you push that button and within, dude, 30
45
seconds.
seconds. It was
Yeah,
so
30,
fast. They're
45
calling my
seconds.
personal phone, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Asking what's wrong. And then at the same time, they're also calling Chelsea, your wife, right? To make
yep.
sure, because she was like the first in
Uh,
line to
no, they didn't. They didn't call her because they'd already got a hold of me and asked if
got
I
you.
had
Okay.
already called her. So they called me and said, "Hey, Garmin Services, we see an SOS from this device. Is this legit or is this an accident?" So nope, it's happened, and I need help. So then they start breaking it down. They start asking, "Okay, what happened? What do you need? Where are you? Are you accessible to certain areas?" And I said, "No, I'm not accessible to anywhere. I have a badly broken leg and I'm going to need a helicopter. And you can land a helicopter about 50 feet from me." So that was all they had
Yeah.
to hear. And boom, they were already on it getting a helicopter dispatched.
Yep. And since I had already talked to 911 at one point, they had my phone number. So then the emergency services are calling me, making sure that I have eyes on you and then that you're okay. Dude, it was so seamless that
Yeah,
I mean, I am 100% sold on the Garmin inReach,
me
because
too.
granted, I mean, you pay for your monthly service, and yeah, the hardware is like, I don't even know what they cost now, $300 or something like that. But
Yeah,
in the big scheme of things, it is worth every single penny, if not more. So
100%.
yeah, this is not like a paid advertisement by any means from Garmin, but if
My
you
mom
don't
bought me
have
this.
if you don't
That's
have an inReach, get one. I have a video on the 66i. That's a pretty cool one. That's just a handheld Garmin one, but I carry the Mini 2 now, and it's
absolutely.
super small, compact. You can text from it, and it does the SOS, which is really the most important thing on that thing. So
And carry it on you. Don't put it on your bike, because if
that's
you
another
crash and your
thing.
bike goes 20, 30 feet from you and you got a badly broken leg or whatever, you're
Good
not
luck. Yeah,
like, I reached up and it was right here on my shoulder and I just grabbed it, unclipped it, and it was right there.
absolutely. I mean,
So,
Garmin sells, a bike mount. Don't even look
yep,
at it. Get
stick it on your
what, and
bike.
that's what's nice about the Moscow Moto, the chest carrier. The Moscow Moto chest carrier for the
That's actually
backpack
just the
has.
backpack. The chest rig has the slot, but
Oh,
then there's
both
actually
do. Yeah,
on the shoulder, you can stick it on your shoulder strap.
you're right.
It's
You're right. Yeah, so the backpack has the spot for it, and then also if you have the chest rig, then there's a little pocket for it as well. And it's, I mean,
yep,
it's within arm's reach. I mean, even if you had a broken arm, you could still access it. So,
yeah,
and then and another thing I'd like to, speaking of that, other than the Garmin, another thing that guys don't think about when it comes to medical is a tourniquet. I mean, if you would have been bleeding out or had a major, even more major leg injury to where you would have
right,
had arterial bleeding, having a tourniquet on you, not in your pack, not in your your medical kit, having one. And I keep mine right there in that chest rig because it's
right.
the easiest place to get to. And dude, within, it doesn't take long. I mean, you're talking 30 seconds, you can pass out from heavy bleeding. So
Yep.
carrying a tourniquet will also be something. If you guys don't have that on you, get one. I mean, again, not that much of an investment to save your life. So,
No, no, it can
but
happen to you.
yeah, I mean, it can happen to anybody, man. Chad's got, I mean, you've been riding for how long?
25 years
Yeah, you've
riding
raced, you've done
consistently
all
for
these.
20. I've done everything, man. I've been through moto, off-road, got into ADV, and just went balls out. And it happens. It can happen anytime.
Yep. It only takes that one freak kind of thing that you're not ready for, and
Nope.
it can go sideways quick. So I mean, moving forward, what we did, we were able to get you out of there. You know, we landed the helicopter. Got you, dude. The medics that
They were
showed up
awesome.
were awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I've dealt with life flight medics in the past, and my past job, and those were some of the best ones that I've ever dealt with. They
100%.
were so good, and they were funny.
Yeah.
They were making jokes, making light of the situation, because obviously you got to do something to take your mind
Well,
off
and
of it.
they knew that we were okay too. They read the room really well.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, and then one of the guys too was also into moto, so he was kind of giving you some shit, and
I
so
think he had just come off of a pretty bad injury too. That was something comparable. So he was like, "Yeah, I just did this, and
mm,
you're in for a road, dude." So
yeah.
yeah,
So they take you to St. George, the medical center, right?
yep,
And
yeah.
then you had some pretty good care there. I basically, everybody else stayed with your bike, and I coordinated trying to get we actually found a wrecker. And that's another thing like we should probably touch on too, is have a plan that when you're out in the backcountry, how are you going to get equipment out? Maybe you don't, maybe at some point you're not able to get it out right at that point. But luckily,
Yeah.
again, we had cell service, and I was able to find a wrecking service that most wreckers will not go off road or off pavement. And this one happened. He's like, "Hey, can I actually get out there?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think if it's a kind of a rougher 2-track road, but I think you can get out here, no problem." And
Well,
sure as
they
hell,
charge for it accordingly.
he made it out there, and he got your bike. So,
I think they charge
but
an
that
extra like $300 or $400 to drive
they
out there.
do. They do. They're gonna, as soon as they leave the pavement, usually it's gonna be an additional fee. So keep that in mind as well.
Yep.
But they recovered your bike. They got it in storage. They even mailed your Moscow stuff back, right?
No, so everything stayed with the bike.
Oh,
They
gotcha.
shipped it
Okay.
to Tucson, I believe, to Go 80 or not. Gosh, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Go Motorcycle 80 or Arizona or something.
Oh,
Those
yeah,
guys
yeah,
were
yeah.
great too. They
Down
held
down in
onto my
southern.
bike. Yeah, they held onto my bike for close to a month and just pushed it back, no charge, because the wrecker wanted like $50 a day to hold it.
Yeah, yeah.
I ended up talking him into taking it down to this motorcycle shop. They stored it there, no charge. And then friend of a friend through the motorcycle shop here was passing through there, coming back up through my town here and just picked it up and dropped it off here.
Awesome.
So super lucky that that
Yeah,
happened.
that totally worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, after making those guys stayed there, and then I jumped on the bike and turned around and went back to St. George, met you there, and then it was just okay. How do we get you home? So
Yeah.
you did you have you had a surgery there, right?
I
Yeah,
did.
you
Yeah.
had to.
So the next day I had to go into surgery. So the doctor comes in my room the next day after a CT, lots of x-rays. And we didn't know, like, we just thought I broke my leg. We didn't know how bad things were. And he comes in and he goes, "Man, this is kind of a bummer because you destroyed your foot. Like it's all broke." So I completely crushed my navicular. All the little bones that go from like the long bones in here to everything that connects right up to your ankle joint, everything in there was crushed and pushed. So he had to go in, he put these candy cane pins in, stabilized it. But yeah, it was, and I had this big X fix on my leg that went through my heel bone and then drilled into my shin. And they sent me
So
home
an
with
X
that.
fix is like they call it external fixator, right? Basically a cage on your foot.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It just held everything together in the meantime. And the funny thing was that surgeon said, "Oh, 6 weeks in this, you'll be fine. No worries. Just take this off in 6 weeks and you should be back to good." Back to activities again. When I got back to Oregon and the surgeons took a look at me here and went, "No, that's way
Huh.
worse than that. We need to do some more work." So off to the next surgery. I think they worked on me for 4 hours there and put another
Gosh.
X fix on my foot. And yeah, man, I'm not even done with surgeries yet.
Yeah. Would you say that you're kind of on the you've kind of hit to where you're getting ready to go on the downhill side of it to where you can actually start recovering, or you still have another, you still have another surgery?
I have one more surgery for some more hardware extraction. I ended up getting an infection 2 weeks after the big surgery. And I think it's
Yeah.
mostly because the smaller external fixator they put on my foot allowed something to go in. So I ended up with an infection and abscess a couple weeks after, and that was so excruciating. I had no idea how much pain I was actually in. I had discharge, I mean, just everything.
Gosh.
He went in, pulled out a sizable abscess out of my foot and then flushed it out with 20 liters of saline. I That's a lot.
Yeah.
So, and I've been on antibiotics ever since. I actually saw the infectious disease doctor this morning, and he wants me on all those antibiotics until they pull the plate out of my foot. So I carried that over to the surgeon and said, "Hey, we need to get moving on getting this plate out of my foot because I can't get off the antibiotics until we do it."
So after your surgeries, we were kind of stuck with the logistical movement on how to get you from St. George, Utah, back to Boise, Caldwell area, because we met in Caldwell, jumped in your truck, loaded the bikes up in your rig, and then came down. So yeah, on the way back up, we've got one less bike, which is fine. I mean, it makes for better room in the pickup, right? But
Yep.
once we get to Boise and get my truck, we had no way to get you home because you weren't able to drive. Not only like physically, you probably could have done it, but being on all the pain meds and just having your foot down below your waist, like it was instant pain, right? So,
I was on opiates. There's no way I was
right,
going to swing
right,
that.
exactly,
And all the while, you've got family at home freaking out because you're states away and you're injured, you're immobile, and they're jumping to everything as far as air ambulances, everything that are thousands of dollars to get you home. And there's no way they can communicate that with you because you're on an operating table. And when you're not on the operating table, you're on drugs
you're
and
so
you aren't
drugged
able
up,
to
yeah,
really communicate. You're trying to have conversations with your spouse, your parents. Nobody's communicating correctly. Everybody's at each other's throats. Everyone's got the best idea. And I think ultimately we just said, nope, we'll just jump in the
yeah.
truck and go for it.
Yeah,
And we just,
there came a point to where like I was getting phone calls from all of your family, from your wife, your
yeah,
dad, your mom, and everybody had ideas and they were good ideas, but in
yeah,
reality, we were the ones that were there. I'm totally capable of getting you where you needed to be. So I had to just kind of make a decision and say like, sorry guys, this is what we're doing. And
yeah.
you
And
can,
it
you
worked out.
can, and it worked out great. Like you can figure it out from Boise and it all worked out great. I'm glad that they were open to letting us just kind of figure it out and
I
not
felt
trying to
bad
get
because there was money spent. My dad went and bought plane tickets and he was going to fly into Vegas, jump in a car, come get me, then fly me home. He's telling me you need to buy 3 tickets on an airplane, otherwise they won't let you come home on one seat.
right.
I mean, and I didn't know how I was going to be able to handle a flight with a broken leg. I had no idea what was going to happen, what the
Yeah.
pressure was going to be like.
Just getting through the airport,
Yeah.
you're at the time you're at 230 pounds. Your wife weighs like 110 pounds at best.
Oh no,
And she
dude, she 130. It's not that small, but
well, she's a
she's
small
built.
gal, right? She's a
Yeah.
small gal. So I'm like thinking to myself, her having to push you through security and push you through airport multiple times, it just didn't make any sense where you could sit in the back of your pickup, not in the
Yeah.
backpack, but in the back seat of your pickup, propped up
Get in the
with,
bed.
yeah, right. And
Don't bleed all over your own truck.
we made it work. We got you comfortable and
Yeah.
we made the drive and then, family met in,
Yeah.
oh, we
We
flew. You flew
yeah,
out of
so I
Boise, right?
we flew Chelsea, my wife, into Boise. We met with Brandon
With
from
Brandon.
Upshift Online.
Yeah, which
He
was
you
awesome.
Yeah, it was so cool that he would just meet us and then shuttle me around Boise and my wife to pick
Yeah.
her up, bring her back to the hotel, and then we just jumped in the truck and we went west and got
Yeah,
me
we were
home.
like, "Hey, Brandon, do you want to meet for coffee?" He's like, "Yeah, what else do you need?" And we're like, "Well, a ride to the airport would be awesome." And he's like,
Or yeah,
"Okay."
yeah, it was so grateful, and that's just another part of how the adventure community will come together and just,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and you thank the guy and he's like, yeah, why wouldn't I do this for you? Or other
Yeah.
people, you kind of get the,
You don't want to be a
yeah, I
burden,
guess I
right? Yeah.
could, it's, yeah, it was, thanks, Brandon. Man, I
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
It's awesome. Well, man, I'm glad that you're kind of on the up and up though. I mean, yeah, you have the surgery to kind of look forward to, but um what's the plan? What's the next bike? The bike is totaled, right?
Oh yeah, bike's totaled. I got a call here a little bit ago from my insurance. They're working on getting me paid out on it once they find what rallies actually are worth, because they
Yeah.
keep on trying to pay me out for an R. They thought that
R
R
versus
meant
the
rally.
rally. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're working on that still. I think I'm going to slow it. I I have so many different directions I want to go with it. Uh, right now, I'm thinking I'm going to go with a 1290R so I can do more touring because my 890 rally is, frankly, it's just miserable to do any kind of touring on. It's not fun. It's like a high powered 450, and I don't enjoy being on the road with it. A
Yeah.
couple hours and I'm spent. Off road, it's great, but as soon as I get on the highway, I'm not having a good time. So if I can get a bike that is a little more touring friendly, then I'll do that. Whether it be a 1250, 1290,
Gotcha.
and maybe put some stickers behind the windshield that says "Keep the front tire on the ground."
uh, what moving forward? Also, like what trips? What do you want your first trip to be? Whenever you're good to go, have you thought about that yet?
Well, Baja.
Baja. Yeah.
We need to do Baja.
I do think we need to do Baja. I also think we need to complete Arizona because
I agree.
that would be a good way to kind of put all that behind you. But Baja,
Yeah.
dude, I feel like everybody's in Baja right now. Like, get freaking invitations all the
I
time
got
to go to
home and it was
Baja.
like everyone forgot I got hurt, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to go to Baja in March?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do, but I can't."
Yeah, I can go and sit on the beach and just watch you.
I can't even do that comfortably.
Eat tacos.
Yeah, I could do that. So I don't know. Time for just, I don't know. I've been going hard for the last year, like really hard moto every weekend and trips, and think I'm just ready for a slowdown for a little bit, do some touring stuff. I don't need to go that hard for a while.
So from this accident, what advice would you give to maybe even either new riders or even seasoned riders, some lessons that you learned?
I understand what happened with me is not going to happen with everybody, and we were going after a shot. We were there for some media, we were doing some things. Not everybody's going to do that, but take it easy, enjoy the ride. you know Keep your eyes forward, watch your terrain.
I think
It sneaks up fast.
I think for guys like you and I, we get out and we get the thrill of kind of going hard, going fast for a little bit.
Yeah.
But then we kind of lose sight of what these trips are supposed to be about, like the BDRs and stuff like that. They're supposed to be, going out, getting away from the day to day, out and kind of away from people, right? Or away from leaving your worries behind, right? And then going and enjoying the trip. So, I mean, lesson learned for me from this whole thing too is like, hey, get out and actually enjoy the ride, and who cares about?
There's no agenda, because I feel like we had
Yeah,
such an agenda coming into it, and it was
we
just,
did.
it felt very business.
You
We
did,
had
yeah,
like this agenda, we had to do this, we had to do that, and that's not how it's supposed to be, right? We're supposed to be
right,
out there having a good time. And I guess the only thing I'm grateful for is I got to see my stallions. That's it. I
yeah,
went there for
yeah.
stallions, I saw them, and then 20 minutes later, flying through the air like Ricky Bobby. So,
Last kind of question I'm going to ask, and I mean, not necessarily personal, but it's as far as camaraderie goes. Do you feel like from this incident, you have a better sense of like riding buddies, or just I guess give me a comparison of what this experience would have been like without, I guess, some friends around. If you're out riding on your own, that's great and everything, but to ride with a group every now and then, I feel like sometimes it's a whole different experience.
I mean, yeah, I feel like the adventure side of things, anyways, is so much more camaraderie than any other style of moto. I mean, trail riders, dual sport guys they're very good with each other, but the adventure side of things, just in the last couple of years, I've learned you show up to an event and literally everybody's so happy you're there. Like everyone's smiling. You could walk up to any camp, anyone's inviting. And then after this happened, all the adventure people kind of came out of the woodwork, days after, weeks after. My inbox was full. And it was like some days I was in tears. You just don't know what to say to people.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
that's
it's
awesome. I know we had
the
talked.
support.
Yeah, we had talked about it. The support is awesome. The adventure motorcycle community, it's growing a lot, but it's still so
Yeah.
small. And you may not know somebody directly, but you know of them a lot of times, or you've seen them, or you know somebody who knows them. And then now with social media, if you have any type of following whatsoever, again, like we talked about, like Brian and I had talked about in the last podcast, I mean, social media has its negative things, right? But it has so many more positives that you can use if you decide to use the tool for what it's actually designed for. And yeah, man, I mean, you had people bringing you cookies and you had food, and like from, it's just,
I had
it's
get well cards coming from people I've never met in my
never
life. You
met.
know what?
Yeah.
The ER out of I think it's Henderson, Nevada. They sent me a get well soon card, and I couldn't believe it. How'd you get my address? But I think Josh actually gave it to him. I opened this card and I just start bawling. It's like,
Is there anything else that you would like to add to, to wrap this all up?
I guess I've had a lot of time sitting on the couch this last 2 months. Sorry, not 6 weeks. That's just post surgery. You start to throw yourself a pity party after a while, and you start really feeling down, and your mental health takes a huge hit, and you start to realize that a lot of this comes back to your attitude and the way that you look at things. And realistically, you need to keep a good attitude. I've always been a follower of Doug Henry, and I've followed Doug for years. I watched him in the first Terra Firma videos, and if you can, go YouTube it. He talks about attitude and the way that you perceive things and the way that you react to certain situations that happen in your life. And the way that you react and your attitude towards something is 90% of what actually happens to you. 10% of the episode, that's nothing. It's going to come and go. It'll pass. But the way that you react to it and the way that you treat people and the way that you talk to yourself through that 90% is what really matters. So it sucks being hurt. It's an emotional situation. You're taking a time out from life because you're not at work for months. You're not invited to the party anymore, and it's hard stepping back for that time. So, but you got to stay positive. You got to keep moving forward. You got to keep looking forward to the next thing, and keep a clear mind about it, because you will come back, and life is great. It's a good life.
That's right, man.
Absolutely.
Well, dude, I'm so glad that you came on here and told your story, and hopefully some people have learned some things about it, and at the very least, just kind of maybe a little bit better plans, or have a little bit better plan next time they go out and ride. Think about kind of the worst case scenario, be better prepared for what could happen, and then maybe turn a situation that you had into something positive for themselves. So
Absolutely.
So I know we talked about it a little bit in the beginning of this podcast, but where can people find you?
Yeah, my Instagram is goodlifeadv, space between the two. And then my YouTube isn't really big. I only got like 60 followers, so I'm nowhere near all the other guys, but same name. Maybe one day we'll start to grow that too.
Yeah, you have a lot of shorts on there right now. It's mainly shorts, but we're trying to get that up a little bit. We'll start getting some longer form content on there and everything. But I appreciate you. Get better soon. I know that you will. You're motivated to get back on the motorcycle,
That's
and
all I want to do. Go back to life.
Hopefully in a few months, man, once you're good to go, we'll be able to get back on the bikes together, and we'll be able to document it and have a good trip. So
there will be a redemption.
That's right. All right, man. We'll have a good day, and we'll see you next time.
It's been an honor. Have a good day.
All right, guys. Well, if you like this type of content, definitely hit that subscribe button, click that like button, share this with your friends. There's more of these coming here really soon. I've got lots of guests coming down the pike. So I appreciate you guys watching. And if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Either me or Chad will be on here answering any questions you might have. So other than that, we'll see you in the next one, guys. Thanks.